Well, it's been a challenging one. It's been very difficult financial times, but considering the lack of resources, I think we've made some wise choices, and we have a budget that's ready for adoption with the emphasis on job creation and helping small businesses and making sure that public education is maintained and keeping our teachers in the classroom. That's absolutely imperative.
Well, the short session has gone very quickly, and we're hearing that we're going to be getting out in a few weeks. Obviously, it's been a session that's been dominated by money concerns, and the fact is that the state government has had to shrink to reflect really what individuals and businesses have been doing in North Carolina for the last couple of years. The revenues aren't as high as they were expected, and therefore we're having to make cuts. And it's just really important that instead of thinking about cuts, that we think about how to prioritize how we spend the taxpayers' money, and more importantly, how we keep from flushing some of our responsibilities down to the local level, like the counties and the cities of North Carolina.
Well, this has been the most interesting session I've ever had a part of. It's the budget and the shortfall made us really do some concentrating on how to make things work, and it's been a rough time. We're hurting a lot of folks, and I hope as time goes on, maybe some of those items won't hurt as bad as it looks like they will at this juncture. Next time around is going to be a lot worse, but it's been a real interesting session from a budget standpoint, and we've worked really hard to try not to hurt the people any more than absolutely necessary. We've got to get the folks back to work. 53% of our income comes from withholding tax, and so that's where we're falling down. We get that employment rate back down to 8%, and we'll be fine.
Well, I've been here for a while. This is my 14th year, and I can tell you without question this is probably the most difficult session we've ever had. It's not just about the budget shortfalls that we're having to make a lot of cuts in areas that we don't really like to make cuts. It's really about the attitude. Right now, nobody really wants to be here because we don't have anything. No good decisions are being made. Only bad decisions and responsible decisions having been made. So it's really not a pleasant time to be a public servant when you're having to do some of the things we're having to do right now. But that's part of being a legislator. You just have to do the least worst thing that you can do sometimes instead of the best of all options. So if you had to characterize what's best or worse about what's going on right now in the 2010 General Assembly, it's that really and truly nobody wants to do some of the things that we're having to do, but we have a responsibility. It's not intended to be fun. It's intended. It is what it is, a responsibility to make sure that North Carolina does what it's supposed to on budgetary matters, and tighten our belt and move on to the next problem.
Okay. This has been the toughest session since I've been in the General Assembly. This is my 6th year here, and because of the national recession, we've been forced to make some very, very tough decisions. Of course, that's what the people of North Carolina hired us to do, to help them out in good times and bad, and we're having to make some devastating cuts in government and choosing between programs that are really, really making a difference in people's lives, and regrettably having to cut plenty of them. So we've made what I think are the largest cuts to our state budget in our state history. So it's never fun to do that, but it's a necessary task, and I'm glad that we're almost done with it.
Well, it's been a fairly rough session, particularly when it comes to the budget. We didn't have any money to work with. The budget that we finally crafted is not very pretty, but it's the best we could do with what we had, and hopefully things will get better, the economy will pick up, and we'll be able to move later on the next session to more fertile grounds.
I have been here almost 6 years, which means I've been through 3 long sessions and almost 3 short sessions. This short session has been totally different from anything else I've ever experienced. I used to say in the short session we came in and we tweaked the budget. There's been no tweaking this time. We have overhauled it. And we did in a matter of weeks what we normally would do in a matter of months during a long session.
Well, I really think that this has been a session where people have had to really come together at a time when deep budget cuts were having to be made. And it's an example of how we sort of can work together across the aisle even to make good decisions with very little in the way of resources. So it's been a test. It's been kind of a testing, sort of trying time, but I think the result is going to be good. I heard somebody say yesterday that if we had to have a bad budget, that this was a good one. So it's the best of all possible worlds in terms of what we were able to do with as few resources as we have during this down economy.
Well, I think it's been quick. That's the first thing. This truly has been a short session in which we focused on what we were here for, which was to work on the second year of the budget. And we've done that. I think we've done that expeditiously under great stress, given the budget cuts that we faced. But we've been able to reduce the budget in the second year, protect the classrooms, fund enrollment growth and education, and provide for the basic services of our citizens, been able to protect those this session. And given the enormity of the cuts that we were facing as we began the process back in April, reviewing the budget, I think this is a significant step forward.
Well, it's been a very difficult session because obviously, you know, we've had to cut a whole lot with the lack of funds, and North Carolina has been a very progressive state in moving forward, and we've tried to budget in such a way that we didn't impede our progress, but yet we had to be realistic and cut back on the amount of money that we had to spend.
It's been a very challenging session given that we are facing the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. Coming into this session and having to make up a deficit of $800 million has been very difficult and very trying, but I think we've gotten the job done. We've gotten the job done in a timely fashion. I think it's the first time since 2003 that we will have completed the budget on time. I think we've put together a budget that provides opportunities for tax cuts for small businesses. I think we have protected folks that are in need in this budget. So I think when all is said and done, we've done our job. The budget's going to be balanced, and I think we'll still maintain our creditworthiness as one of the few states in the country with a AAA bond rating.
You know, the short session is always about updating the budget, and we've come in a difficult financial situation, and I believe we've made the hard decisions we've had to make for the citizens of North Carolina. We've also had the opportunity to do 2 or 3 things that we think moves the state forward, such as the Transportation Mobility Fund and the program that we have to help our small businesses across the state. So I believe we've done what the citizens of North Carolina need for us to do.